Back again, my friends. I just came from outside. Had to put all this stuff on because of the COVID situation. I want to catch that. Ooh.
Inducing panic and hysteria. That is an extremely destructive thing to do. The way to lead humans, I mean, do you think George Patton, induced hysteria in his troops when they were in trouble? He would go, gentlemen, some of you aren't going to make it back. We have an obligation to move forward. Let's go get this thing.
Exactly right. General George Patton. You think he would be talking like this? That is a man. That's how men. Is not what I am seeing out on the streets. I am seeing a lot of guys who are in their 20s and 25, 30s acting like school children, scared of the virus. Oh, I'm going to die. I've got to put this on. I'm seeing very few men, and I'm seeing a lot of women. Suppose we had a real war. You know what happened? Well, we can't go over there because it's dangerous. Something might happen. Oh, really? That is the talk of a sip. Yes, take precautions. Let's not go overboard now. We've gone a little bit too far here. Come on now.
That's how you solve problems. That's how we've always done it. As opposed to shelter in place, hide in your home. Where did that come from? I was no. There's no infectious disease textbook that advises that anywhere ever. But the whole idea of lockdown came from a 14-year-old girl in Albuquerque. You know that,
what?
Right?
No.
Oh, you don't know the history of lockdown?
There you go. I didn't even know that. Now, is it true? I don't know. I'm going to go with it's most probably true. I kind of trust this guy a little bit, but I'm going to take his word on this.
Yeah. Was her name Rochelle Walensky? Was it her?
No.
Was it the young Rochelle?
No, his name was Green. Her last name was Green. So throughout human history, you quarantine sick people, not well people. There's was never a concept of stay in your home or lockdown. Though I will tell you, there's a natural tendency. This is borne out in the smallpox literature that when there's an outbreak, humans tend to reduce their social contact naturally.
Yes,
That's what we do when we're trying to protect ourselves. But only one time in history was there a stay home order, and that was in Venice. I think it was the 14th century, and it was a catastrophe. Never before. Then we have Wuhan, China outbreak, and we have the government there behaving in the strangest way from a medical perspective, chlorine-containing drugs rolling down the street, squirting the streets. What was that? Locking people in their homes? That's not, physicians, I promise, did not do that. No doctors were involved in that decision. That was either something they had rehearsed in case there was an outbreak from their lab, or a face-saving measure by the local Soviet, whatever you want to call it, so the higher-ups didn't blame them for whatever happened. This was some government action, not medical.
Mind control?
Not medical.
I'm going to go with rehearsed, coordinated by the official. Maybe a disinformation campaign.
Say that one more time.
A disinformation campaign. I saw those videos, and as the weeks went by, I got really skeptical about what was really going on down there.
Then we have every press outlet in this country demanding the same response, demanding it. The New York Times editorial board demanding lockdown.
Most illogical.
That to me was breathtaking and disgusting. I hope people look back at that and look at that with a jaundiced eye and with care, because that was how we got into this mess.
What a coincidence. I guess all these newspapers have the answers. Forget the doctors, what they say. No, I guess they are the modern day scribes. They have the answers to everything which is going on in our lives. And people are addicted to that like crazy.
Wow, the land of make-believe.
Yes, let's just get one opinion. Forget what the doctors say. No, doesn't matter. We have the answers. We are the elites. Listen to us.
You can't handle the truth.
And we had a government then responded to it. Then there was even more going on at the time. Of course, anything that was Trump, we had to do the opposite. So Trump says no lockdown, so California locks down completely. Now, I actually signed up for the lockdown at the time and said, well, our leaders are in a tough position. Till we can figure out exactly what we're dealing with, let's listen to our leaders. I mean,
It's totally made up.
that's just sort of my
Bend the
thing.
curve.
I same thing. Listen to the leaders at the time because they were in a tough position. I didn't know what was going on. Nobody knew what was going on. But that day has passed. I know a lot more now. And it took me about 2 to 3 weeks to say, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Something's not right.
Yeah, okay, listen to the leaders. That's fine. But then we're still in it now here in California, for Christ's sake. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So back to the lockdown. This young 14-year-old did a summer science project where she built a model that showed that you could disrupt an influenza outbreak, very different than a respiratory virus, an influenza outbreak by holding kids back from school, essentially. Influenza is hand transmitted and transmitted by kids and kills kids. So it was an interesting model for influenza. Her father, who worked at the, I forget the name of the lab, it wasn't Los Alamos, but it was another think tank in New Mexico. He was a model builder. He was a computer modeler. And he thought, wow, she's really onto something. I bet I can make a model about local lockdowns for a pandemic. The Bush administration found it after he published his paper with his daughter, the 14, I guess now 15-year-old, as the second lead author.
And trust me, if you talk to these people who are scared, don't use the word scared, because you are scared. You know what they're going to say? Oh, no, I'm not scared. Just trying to be safe. No, you're not. You're scared. I know when someone's scared and when someone's trying to be safe. They are scared. They are scared little sissies. I get it. Some people have medical conditions, or they got family at home who they're worried about, or other things. So there's could be other mitigating circumstances. But in general, they are scared, if not terrified, of getting
as the pandemic policy. That's something that they could do. Now, they never used it. We went through H1N1, which was a terrible pandemic. And by the way, I cut my teeth on the HIV epidemic, which had a 100% fatality, not a 1%, not a 5%, a 100% fatality. I was telling people as a third-year medical student every day they were going to die in 6 months. I was never wrong. We never employed this so-called lockdown policy. It was just a theoretical sort of instrument that they put on their sort of, but it was never meant for a respiratory virus and never meant for the entire country. It was meant as a localized sort of phenomenon. And that became what we lived through. It's just uncanny.
I look around now as people sort of emerge, as they periscope up from in places like New York City, and soon I hope for you in California, and you see them coming out more. I mean, maybe a little bit less now with the Delta variant going around and all the scaremongering about it. But in New York, when the masks came off and people started to go back to the restaurants, what I noticed, and Doug noticed it too, my husband, is that there are some people who seem to have gone a little batty. Like there are some people who they've gotten themselves so scared. They've really spent the past year alone, avoiding restaurants, avoiding other people, normal people, friends of ours who, are young and very cool people. Like it's not like a bunch of elderly who should be staying at home, or no. And you can sort of see there's a little craze in their eye, that you can just see like the beard's gotten really long and they're a little unkempt and they look a little scattershot with the eyes. And I've been just anecdotally wondering what happened to them. What are they coming back from that?
Like I said before on my earlier videos, way back, a couple of 2-3 months ago, most of my friends are not scared. They're not acting scared. Okay, maybe 1 or 2. And I mean like 1 or 2. And those aren't even close friends. They're not scared. They're not acting scared. And they don't even talk about that when I go over there. They're just living their lives, doing what they got to do, taking care of their kids, taking care of their families, and going out too, staying at home.
Well, hopefully. I mean, the problem is I think adults will come back for that. The problem is we may have injured permanently 8 to 15-year-olds who manifest similar stuff.
No.
Humans need social contact. Why do you think the most severe penalties a human can face is isolation? That is the worst that a human can tolerate. Our self emerges in the context of our relationships with other. Our capacity to feel our emotions and regulate them happens because of the reflection of others. Our ability to make meaning of life and have things like careers and be of service is our relationship to others. When that is restricted, we, as you say, we go batty. It's the worst thing you can do to a human being. And to do it with a particularly no end in sight, it's torture. And this was entered into, but there's another layer to this whole thing that we're getting into here that I want to point out, which is what my profession did. I pointed out to you repeatedly that this was not a medical decision. There's no infectious disease policy that talks about lockdowns and not even social distancing. You won't find that in an infectious disease textbook. But my profession, because of the politicization, because of the mob on social media, because, as I've discovered, most physicians now are employees, this was a shock to me. They were afraid of losing their job. They were afraid of their reputation. They were fearful of the mob, and we froze in place. Physicians became unwilling to do anything. I've never experienced an illness where my peers just said, go home till you get sicker. That is the opposite of what we do. Now, interestingly, my surgical colleagues did not do that. They kept improvising and doing things for their family and patients quietly. But trust me, they were doing stuff. I saw it. But the rest of us, the primary care side, froze in place, mostly out of fear of losing the job, I think, or getting attacked by the mob. So we shut up and we ceded our decision-making, our responsibility to the FDA, the CDC, and the NIH.
This is exactly what I said before. You watch out for the terms they use. Public health employees or public health doctors. And there's another term. I can't remember what it is. But these guys haven't been doing any surgery or anything to do with doctoring in years. These are public officials. Whenever you hear a public health official say this, I take that with a grain of salt. Actual doctor who is working in the field, I'll listen to him more than public health officials who suddenly out of nowhere got all this power and they've gone crazy. It reminds me of something back in the 40s. I wonder what that is.
Do you think, Megan, those organizations ever had anything to do with any decision I ever made when I was taking care of a patient through a 35-year career? Ever? They would send me information and publications and give suggestions. They were not involved in the decision-making. I did that. My training, my judgment. We ceded that entirely to bureaucrats who have not been clinicians in, if ever, many years, who don't understand how to make or can't make a risk-reward analysis from where they are and can't admit they're wrong and can't change direction.
And
it is the worst of medicine.
Know nothing about mental health. Nothing. What are Dr. Fauci's or Rochelle Walensky's qualifications there? She's the one, speaking of not inducing a panic, she's the one saying, I feel an impending sense of doom. She's crying.
I have a bad
feeling. Like, grow up.
Thank you.